Buckle up, everyone, because today we're diving into a place that's, well, it's more than just a pretty picture. Grindelwald, Switzerland. And judging by all the stuff you've sent our way, sounds like you're looking for more than just the usual touristy info.
Definitely. The material you've gathered tells me you're after the real heart of Grindelwald.
Yeah. Like, you see those postcard views and you just have to wonder, what's the story here?
Right.
Speaking of stories, even the name Grindelwald sounds like it's got one to tell.
It totally does. I mean, translate it roughly means barrier or like an enclosure in the forest,
Hmm.
which actually tells us a lot about its history. It used to be this humble farming community tucked away in the Alps long before the days of, well, it becoming such a global tourist spot.
So how do we get from secluded farms to a world-famous destination? Our sources point to the 19th century as a pretty key period.
Oh yeah, a real turning point. That's when mountaineering took off. Like daring climbs up the Eiger North Face, which started attracting adventurers to Grindelwald. But honestly, the railways, those were the real game changer.
The railways connecting this little village with the rest of the world.
Exactly. And we're not just talking any railway here. The Jungfrau Railway, which was finished in 1912, that was an absolute feat of engineering. It took them 16 years to carve that thing through the Eiger and Munch Mountains.
16 years.
16. Just imagine the logistics of it all.
Wow.
The sheer willpower to lay tracks through solid rock like that.
Okay, that's more than a train ride at that point. That's like a monument to human determination.
Right.
And speaking of determination, let's talk about all the incredible things you can do in Grindelwald today. Where do we even start?
We've got to start with the crown jewel, a trip up to the Jungfraujoch. And it's not just about going to Europe's highest railway station, but stepping onto a piece of history and the views. Mind-blowing.
It's called the top of Europe for a reason, right? But let's get down to earth for a sec, literally. Our research mentions the Eiger Trail. Now, the Eiger North Face is, well, legendary, even kind of notorious among climbers. What's the trail like?
You're right to pick up on that contrast. The Eiger Trail is incredible, especially if you want to experience the history of the Eiger, but maybe not with, ropes and crampons. It's a tough hike, don't get me wrong, but it's designed to be doable for different skill levels.
So you still get those amazing up-close views of the North Face, but with, both feet on solid ground.
Exactly.
Perfect for those of us who prefer a slightly less adrenaline-fueled activity.
And that's the beauty of Grindelwald. There's something for everyone. But if you do want that rush, there's always paragliding, soaring over those valleys, seeing the Eiger from like a bird's eye view. It's a totally different way to experience the scale of the Alps.
Whoa, okay, that's an image. But if we're talking about unique perspectives, we can't forget the first cliff walk. Walking along a cliff face like that with those views, sign me up, or maybe not, actually.
It's definitely not for the faint of heart. And then if you want a bit more speed, there are the first flyer and first glider zip lines. An exhilarating way to descend through the Alpine scenery, that's for sure.
And the trotty bike, like a scooter bike hybrid for zipping down those mountain paths.
Exactly.
Seriously, does Grindelwald ever run out of ways to mix adventure with something totally unique?
Not even close. And believe it or not, we've barely scratched the surface.
Hold on to your hats, everyone, because next up we're venturing off the beaten path to uncover Grindelwald's true hidden gems.
Hidden gems, huh?
Huh?
Okay, you've got my attention. Let's hear about these less traveled paths.
Get ready for this. The Glacier Gorge, or Gletscherschlucht, as the locals call it.
Okay.
So picture this, a narrow chasm carved out by glaciers over, millennia. You walk along this path, the Lütschine River roaring below, sunlight just filtering through the crevices above. It's like another world.
I'm getting chills just picturing it. And our notes mention something called the spider web at the Glacier Gorge. What is that? Ah, the spider web. Now we're talking. It's this giant net suspended high above the gorge. You can actually climb on it.
No way.
Oh, yeah. Talk about a view.
Okay, that is going on the must-do list. But say someone wants those amazing views without, the adrenaline rush.
Well, in that case, the Pfingsteg cable car is a great option. It's definitely a more relaxed ride than the train to Jungfraujoch, but the scenery is just as stunning. Panoramic views of Grindelwald Village, the valleys, and of course the Eiger.
Plus, I hear there are toboggan runs at the top of Pfingsteg. So it's not just about the views, it's about, having some fun too. Really shows how Grindelwald has something for everyone, whether you're a feel seeker or, prefer to take it easy.
And speaking of taking it easy, we can't forget about Grindelwald Village itself. After all those adventures, just wandering through those streets with those traditional Swiss chalets, it's a
It's
must.
all about soaking in that atmosphere, right?
Absolutely. More than just a quick stop for a souvenir. It's about connecting with the real heart of the village.
Yeah, I get it.
Imagine strolling through, the smell of fresh bread, local cheeses. You might stumble across a craftsman's workshop or find yourself chatting with a shopkeeper. Those are the moments that really bring a place to life.
Now you're making me hungry. And speaking of, our notes mention some must-try dishes. Let's talk food.
Well, you can't visit Switzerland and not experience a real cheese fondue. Dipping crusty bread into that bubbling pot of melted cheese, it's the ultimate comfort food, especially after a day exploring the mountains.
And it's such a social experience, too. Perfect for, gathering with friends or family. But what about something a little more substantial? I'm curious about Rusty. What exactly is it?
Think of Rusty as a Swiss twist on the classic potato pancake. Grated potatoes, pan-fried until perfectly crispy. They often add onions, butter for flavor. You can have it as a side dish or top it with cheese, bacon, even a fried egg if you're really hungry.
It sounds amazing. And I love that so much of Grindelwald's food is about using those fresh local ingredients. It's about, like, connecting with the land.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it reminds you that Grindelwald isn't just about the scenery or those heart-pumping activities. It's about enjoying every aspect of the experience, from those mountaintops to that village square.
We've covered so much. History, adventures, even food. But I have a feeling you've got even more wisdom to share about planning the perfect trip. You know it. Our listeners are always looking for those, like, insider tips, those little bits of advice that can make their trip extra special. So what's your advice for someone planning their own Grindelwald adventure?
Well, for starters, look into the Jungfrau Travel Pass. It's basically a golden ticket for the whole region.
Oh, yeah?
Unlimited access to trains, cable cars, even buses within the Jungfrau region for a certain number of days.
Unlimited travel. I'm sold.
Yeah.
Any other tips, especially for first-timers? Like, are there better times of day to see certain things?
Grindelwald is definitely a place that rewards, early birds. Imagine standing atop the Jungfrau as the sun hits those snowy peaks, or hiking the Eiger Trail before the crowds. There's something magical about that tranquility,
What?
that connection with nature.
Oh, absolutely. It's about savoring those moments. Speaking of preparation, any packing essentials?
Don't forget, mountain weather, even in warmer months, can be unpredictable.
Right, right.
Layers are essential. Bring a mix of clothing, be ready for anything from sunshine to a sudden shower.
Always good advice. And of course, you can't go to Grindelwald without capturing those memories. Don't forget your camera, unless you've got a photographic memory like our expert here.
Mhm. True, those pictures will be treasures.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, let's, broaden our horizons a bit,
Mm.
because Grindelwald's incredible, but it's also a gateway to other amazing places nearby.
Oh, I love a good side trip. What else is out there?
Well, if you're looking for something different from the mountain scenery, Interlaken is a must-see. It's nestled between two lakes, Lake Thun and Lake Brands. Totally different kind of beauty. Imagine, a leisurely boat ride on those crystal clear waters, passing by charming villages. Perfect way to unwind after all those mountain adventures.
From mountains to lakes. So much variety. And our notes mention Shilthorn. What's special about that?
Shilthorn is one for the James Bond fans. You know that revolving restaurant, Piz Gloria, at the top? That was a filming location of the 1969 Bond movie on Her Majesty's Secret Service.
No way.
Sipping a martini with those panoramic views? Now that's unforgettable.
I'm in. Oh, and I can't forget Lauterbrunnen Valley. Even just the name makes me think of, like, waterfalls everywhere. What's so special about it?
Lauterbrunnen Valley is just raw natural power. A valley carved out by glaciers with more than 70 waterfalls cascading down those cliffs. The most famous, Staubach Falls, drops almost 300 meters. That mist, the spectacle,
Yeah.
it's breathtaking. It's no surprise J.R.R. Tolkien was inspired by these mountains when he imagined Rivendell.
Wow, I think we've covered it all. Grindelwald, from its humble beginnings as a little farming village to a global adventure hub, it really has something for everyone. Adrenaline, scenery, that authentic Swiss culture, you name it.
It's the kind of place that stays with you, sparks that wonder and makes you want to explore not just the world, but yourself.
Beautifully said. We've only scratched the surface today, but I hope this has inspired you to start planning your own Grindelwald adventure. This is just the beginning.
As you plan, think about this. Grindelwald has this balance to strike between, preserving its natural beauty and its culture while also embracing tourism. So how does that affect things for visitors and locals? What can we learn from Grindelwald, and how can we all try to travel more responsibly?
A great question to ponder as we finish up our deep dive into Grindelwald. It's been an amazing journey, and we can't wait to hear about your adventures. Happy travels, everyone!